Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you might be. I am Nicole BC, and you know everything. What is up? Okay, so I have to just get this one out of the way. You need to put on Sophie Tucker, SOFI, Sophie Tucker, purple hat. It's people dancing. This episode is called People Peopling because people gonna people, my friend. And I can't get that song out of my head anytime I hear it, but I especially can't get it out of my head anytime I say people peopling. Then I have to go play it over and over again. So I encourage you to do that. Anywho, hi, how are you? Are you people peopling, my friend? I bet you are, because it's what we do. We just gonna do you, boo, or me, or whoever the proverbial you is in this instance. And here's the thing, right? Is that it's really easy to assume that people going to people exactly the way that you people. And this is where we can run into so much strife and struggle in our experience, and especially in our professional relationships. So, you are here if you find yourself being disappointed a lot, potentially annoyed, but I'm gonna guess it shows up for you a little bit more like disappointment in others and others' performance and others' commitment and others' ethics or morals. And you just kind of can't believe that they're peopling, despite the fact people gonna people. So I remember in my youth when I very first started working for myself and then working with other people in terms of partnership and then hiring other people to work for me, I had a lot of judgment. And I spent a lot of time saying things like, if I can do it, you can do it too. Or one of my catchphrases was for my bands, no one will ever work harder for you than you. No one will ever work harder in your band, for your band, than your band. And there were some gross assumptions being made in that instance that I could expect anybody to work as hard as me who was in a constant state of both burnout and disassociation. So let's just be very fucking real about that. But secondly, what I can do has nothing to do with what anybody else can do, and vice versa. That is essentially saying somebody else is in charge of both validating and judging my own performance based on their expectations, and vice versa. We are all wired differently, my friend. And people are 100% going to people because that is exactly what we should each be doing. We should be doing our shit our way for our own reasons. Now, when we want to do a collective shit, wow, that came out wrong. But when we want to work together, when we want to achieve bigger and better things, it is really useful to bring some other people into your little loop and clarifying who's going to do what and how and when and what happens if this doesn't go according to plan. That is going to make for much more successful and at the very least enjoyable exchanges. So let's talk about why we compare ourselves to others, why we wish things were different, why we feel like everyone is always going to let us down and we've got to just protect ourselves before we get hurt. So please keep listening because this is something I think some of us feel more acutely than others, but we definitely all experience this on some level. So my intention is to shed a little bit of light on why this is happening, what you can do about it, but importantly, to give you some options based on how you are wired so that you do feel like you can show up and do your best without any interference from others. So someone might not show up at all. Someone might show up and do a very mediocre job based on whatever criterion are being applied, but you get to do you. And you get to be really fucking happy about whatever that means in that moment. Okay. So the thing is that different moments in different situations with different people at different times are going to be different. But humans are literally designed to notice patterns. We expect patterns, we want patterns, patterns predict, and it makes us feel secure. So, can we just get something out of the way and just recognize we never know what's going to happen? Anything could happen at any given moment. That might make you want to throw up all over yourself. But here's the thing, that's what's been happening this whole time. The whole time we don't know. And you're doing just fine. You're great. You're safe. You're secure. You're listening to this podcast. Things have got to be going like pretty all right if you can take 2 minutes for this, right? So, just simply remind yourself in those moments of assumption and desire, you have in fact been doing pretty okay with the fact that batshit crazy stuff could be going on right now and you're okay. Can we accept that? Can we accept that truth and reality? So with that, let's talk about this desire for patterning. Firstly, you want it. Everybody does. So let's just recognize that when something changes, we notice it. That's all. When we said we were going to do something and then we don't, we noticed it first and foremost, but potentially the other person that you said that to notices it well. Now we can assume they're disappointed by it. They might be liberated. I think there's a pretty running joke / meme around like breaking plans is the ultimate adulting power move. Like the point being just simply recognizing, I know I said ... but here's what's happening now. That's actually going to build trust and confidence in you first. Pretending that something didn't exist, or maybe we forgot about it altogether. I know plenty of people that truly don't remember what they said in the past, even if it was just 5 minutes ago. They are so present in their current reality, and it is such a beautiful thing. But other people perceive them as being flaky or being uncommitted or inconsistent or unreliable or irresponsible. All of these heavy judgmental words, right? They're just doing them. And you know what? That's how they've always shown up. So rather than ask somebody like that to make plans with you in 6 months or ask somebody like that to show up at the exact same time every single day, let's just recognize it for what it is. They don't have the same value as you do. It doesn't mean shit. This shows up so often for being late and meetings. Some people fucking hate it. I used to be that person. I used to warn my friends, if you show up late, you're going to need to give me 5 to 15 minutes to just cool the fuck down because there will be smoke coming out of my ears. And if you try and talk to me, I will say things that I regret and you will never want to talk to me again. I had all sorts of stories about being late. They don't respect me. They think their time is more valuable than my time. They're disorganized. They don't know how to prioritize me. I'm undervalued. I'm just blah, 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 right? Or like, there was just some fucking traffic. That's a surprise. This isn't rush hour. It ain't no thing. But I made it a thing. And now everybody's upset because they can feel how upset I am. And they're either feeling victimized or bullied or defensive. That's what I meant to say, defensive. So recognizing all of the stories that we're telling ourselves about them is ultimately how we would see it if we were doing that ourselves. That's judgment. Let's talk about that first, right? And we're not actually going to talk about it. But what I mean is, if I were late to something, I might be disrespecting somebody because I don't want to be, it's important to value whatever the fucking story is. That doesn't mean that's what they're doing to me. It just doesn't. They're different than I am. If I don't like it when someone's late, my best friend is 15 minutes late to everything. And I was like, why can't you just start doing everything 15 minutes earlier? Doesn't make a difference. She's still 15 fucking minutes late. I just know if I make plans with her, I should probably not anticipate that thing happening until 30 minutes after I told her it was going to happen. Problem solved. Everybody gets to be exactly who they are, right? I show up uncomfortably early / on time to everything. I like it. I don't like rushing. I don't like last minute stuff. I'm going to dinner later with a friend. I was like, what time? She's like 6:30. I was like, we'll plan on 7. I would have been there at fucking 5:59, like with my hand on the door. And she would have been like naked in the shower without having even gone to the store yet to get dinner. It's cool. It doesn't mean she doesn't like me. She just invited me over for dinner. It is so easy to compare yourself without even knowing that that's what you're doing. And ultimately, again, you're creating the standard for you that you're then applying to the entire world and just waiting for the world to disappoint you. And now you're right and they're wrong, and you're good and they're bad, and you're the hero and they're the villain. And it's, what is that narrative doing for you, my friend? And I just want to call out as well, it's really easy to compare ourselves to past versions of ourselves. So the past version of me hated being late. This version of me doesn't actually give a fuck. This version of me also doesn't give a fuck if you cancel plans on me last minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes into the plans. I don't really care. I'm doing me. If I'm doing that thing, I want to be there anyway. It's just a bonus if you show up. If it is a deal breaker, I will let you know that. And then I will wait until I get 110% confirmation. It is on you to create the boundaries that you need to feel safe and secure and empowered and confident and successful and creative. Like, it's a lot. I get it. And each one of those steps is a separate threshold and junction that can be communicated and explained. That can just simply be known and owned. People gonna people, and they are different than you. And there are a ton of assumptions that are going to get made in that. And also, if someone is disappointed in you for being you, what if that gets to be okay? Because you know you're doing you, and that's what makes you feel good. And if they're upset with that, they can either not participate or like have a really big feeling. My entire family is constantly shitty with me because they think I should be X, Y, or Z, and I'm just not. I don't know what there's. Ta-da! Like, and the fact that I don't feed that beast, that I don't let the insecurity or the judgment or the assumptions get to me anymore, took a lot of work. They forget about it. I mean, I'm sure they don't. I'm sure they all spend a lot of time making me the center of their entire universes because duh, who wouldn't be orbiting this planet? But in reality, they probably spend about 3 seconds getting shitty with me in a text message and then actually do forget about it until the next time it happens. And they're like, no, busy. Actually, we're all busy. So it'd be like, Nicole. Anywho, how do we do this in professional settings? What's the moral of the story? You always give me a framework. What am I supposed to do with this? There's one very simple fucking answer here. Focus on the results. People gonna people. Let them do their thing. It's the end result that matters. How do you feel at the end of this experience? Did expectations in a work setting, there's probably a metric. I am doing really big stuff with a lot of people, and for the most part, it's going to come down to revenue. Now, am I in sales? Am I coaching their sales team? Am I responsible for their success? Absolutely not. But I am very the fuck aware if somebody is paying me for something and it has the word business in it, they probably expect to make more money. So, as long as I'm overseeing a general exchange that positively influences revenue, we're probably going to be okay. It's probably going to keep going. And if that is not the case, and I can get ahead of that and I can call out, hey, there's a pattern here, an expectation of ROI, let's create some other metrics because we're in a particular stage in business where income or profit may not be the focus. So how are we going to determine success in this exchange? And let's create, whether it's scaling to a certain level or getting a certain level of visibility or creating a certain level of infrastructure, right? Like there are absolutely metrics that can be applied. Again, accept the fact that there are patterns at play that are very, very visible. And when we simply recognize the likely expectation, we can have a conversation around that. That is also peopling. It's called communicating, right? So by calling out specific results, by recognizing there's likely going to be a timeline associated with this, you're probably going to want to know when to look at this result. And this is especially helpful with really big and really impactful connection and partnerships because we always want it done yesterday. That's a pattern. People going to be impatient. So help people understand, hey, I know we talked about this. These were the results. This was the timeline. You said I had 3 months. We're 3 days into this. So can I have like a little bit more time? They might not even remember having that conversation. People gonna people. But you put it in writing. Pattern. Do you see where I'm going with all of this? So much of our judgment and struggle with others is because we, for some reason, forget people gonna people. There are patterns. I think I referred to this, I can't remember the name of the podcast episode, but the very famous Sartre quote, hell is other people, taken very much out of context. They don't mean hell is other people like everybody else sucks. They mean as hell is other people witnessing you. Because if nobody saw you do it, it's like the bear didn't shit in the woods. But people simply being in your experience means you have a mirror, you have accountability, you have expectations. There are patterns, and someone else is watching, which means you kind of can't hide, right? So, something to just, I think, bring this all home, right? Have I mentioned this is part of the summer series? So things are very much shooting from the hip based on the conversations I'm having every single day. So these are short and sweet and very like OG BZ podcast style. I'm curious what you think. This is a little less chat GPT researched, defended. I'm not trying to prove myself or win you over. This is actually my preferred format, but it's a little casual, little cray cray. One of the things that happens very often in people groups, AKA organizations, AKA offices, is we suddenly start judging others' performance and productivity because we don't think it's enough based on our own criteria for productivity and success. This is where focusing on the results is really, really important, especially if you're in a dynamic workplace, a progressive workplace, a hybrid work environment where you're not always going to be able to see people. People going to people. They want to see the results in front of them. They want to see your little green dot on your Slack or MSN. They want to see emails responded to immediately, when really that has nothing the fuck to do with what we're working on. And in fact, if I'm responding to emails really quickly, I'm probably not working on bigger stuff, or I'm very much being distracted and going back and forth, which we know is going to impact the overall profundity of our work, right? Is time the most important thing? Is seeing that your workforce is working 80 hours a week because they're constantly online the goal? Or is that some kind of a security blanket for you? I know you might have had to do it one way when you were growing up, but is that the exact same job with the exact same expectations at the exact same pay and responsibility as whomever it is you're saying, well, if I did it, you have to do it too? Probably not. You know, it's interesting. I work with a lot of people who definitely qualify as progressive, AKA woke, AKA empowered conscious leaders. And it's surprising how much they want to see their workers. They don't want to see the work. They want to see their workers. They want to feel like that person is available to them at all times, in any given moment, as if they don't have important stuff and responsibility and actual job descriptions that allocate responsibilities to them. Like, again, I mean, unless somebody is customer support and their job description is emails, why would you want someone to respond to you immediately? Why would you just go into somebody's office and expect to just be able to talk to them and interrupt them no matter what? That might be how you work, and you might be able to be ADHD AF and just jump across 18 different things and watch all of the TV channels at once, but other people might not work like that. Okay, so recognize that if you are continually disappointed in others, if you feel like everyone is not enough or not trying or not committed or dot, 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 address your own fear and insecurity. That's level one. You feel disempowered. You're looking for control. What would help you feel secure? Oftentimes, when I ask people in a position of power, what would make them feel like they are being successful and their people are supporting them in a way, there isn't a clear answer. And one of the things that can happen is we actually like it when they disappoint us because it makes us right and them wrong. That is very level two energy, obviously not sustainable. And if everybody disappoints you always, might not be that. It's easy. You just walk up the energetic ladder, address the fear, feel the anger, acknowledge the status quo. Those are the patterns in the room. That is people peopling. Then get clear on what the purpose is. What does the win-win-win look like? This is the success metrics. How will you know you've been successful at the end of this? If someone worked an hour a week, but they exceeded every single target and metric that was set for them, and they impacted all of your success metrics positively, like drastically, would it matter if it only took them an hour a week to do that? I mean, truly, I get that we could fill in the other however many hours you think they need to be working, but like, what if it took them laying on the couch staring at the ceiling to be able to create that 1 hour of insane impact? Would you be willing to pay for that? I sure as shit would. Like, yeah, 100%, because it's the results that matter, not the hours. And if that's what it takes, 39 hours of laying on a couch staring at a ceiling for 1 hour of the absolute best in my entire organization, 100% worth it. Now, if you disagree with that, I'd be really curious to know why. Like, really, I think it would actually help me a lot. And this is where boundaries might be really useful, because that might not work for you. And in fact, if they have 39 hours to stare at a ceiling, in the service industry, we used to say, if you have time to lean, you got time to clean. Maybe there could be something that they could be doing that's not laying on a couch. There's only one way to find out. And that doesn't necessarily mean laying on the couch is bad. What we're doing is experimenting to see, is there something else that could be happening in this time that would not negatively impact the other results? Let's see. Maybe you could be teaching people. Maybe you could be thinking about how to teach people or creating some kind of a curriculum. I work with one creative who is kind of doing just that. It's not 1 hour a week and 39 hours of staring at the ceiling, but I think to the team feels like weeks of disconnection and then 3 days of insane work that yields like a year's worth of output. He's in a creative director role. And his team just doesn't fucking get it. His CEO does not get it. But the work speaks for itself. And every single time he delivers on a project, it absolutely quells, shuts the fuck up any naysayer that's been in the room, being like, why the hell is he here? Everyone's going to work differently. People are going to people. We can recognize the patterns. We can have conversations around them. We can set expectations, AKA create boundaries, and allow the process to unfold. If we're really clear on what it is that we're looking for, and we also bake in that might change and evolve, let's check back in. Or I'm not sure we're going to be able to do this. Let's check back in. We're going to get there. We're going to build trust. We're going to create impact, and you're going to get the results. And the thing is, my friend, the way that somebody else does something might actually be better than the way you would do it, doing it that way, or vice versa, them doing it your way. Are you willing to get the best result? Or is this about everybody showing up exactly like you? Is this about you holding yourself to the exact same standard of methodology forever? I hope not. I hope you're here because you're into growth and development and evolution. Evolution is synonymous with change. There's no way to evolve without change. If I'm wrong about that, I would love to hear. Let me know. Yeah, I guess the last thing I have to say about this is anytime you wish things were different, that's your cue. Okay. It might show up as disappointment. It might show up as regret. It might show up as comparisonitis. It might show up as perfectionism. It doesn't really matter. It's just, I don't like the way this is, but here we are. That is your opportunity to explore this through that lens of the energetic ladder. And I would offer the first step, accepting the way it is. It just, let's assume this is how it's going to be. What next? What is my story around that, energetic ladder climb? And if this feels overwhelming or confusing or triggering, and guess what? This is the exact episode for you. And I'm so glad you got all the way through it. Congratulations. You have lots of fun peopling to do, and just noticing the different patterns, what your story is around them, where you are responding to or engaging in terms of your own energetic attitude, perspective, mindset, opinion, emotional interpretation, however you want to define it. So I think this is actually going to be a pretty cool opportunity for you. And I'm so glad you made it all the way through. Thank you for being here. I wouldn't do this without you, for anyone else but you. I'm here because of you, and I am forever grateful. I don't think this will get us all the way through the summer series, but we're getting close. I think this will come out in the next couple of weeks, which will bring us to like August. I personally am going to be summering through at least October, maybe November. I don't know. I might just declare summer year round. I think I like it. So with that, I will catch you on the flip side, my friend. Thank you for being here. I love you. Bye.